what happens when you bring together the world of business, finance, numbers, transformation, and the wild. The idea itself is a little bit wild, right? Hello everyone, I'm Deepika Santdasani, your host, and you're watching Risk and Reality. And for today's episode, we are joined by a leader who comes with an experience of 25 years navigating business complexities in finance across FMCG, retail, telecom, healthcare, and education. He's a chartered accountant, a chief financial officer at one of India's largest K-12 education networks. He's not just transforming businesses, he is also leading transformations, driving profitability, optimizing working capital, and creating value at scale. But there's another side of him that's equally fascinating. For about 16 years, he has been pursuing wildlife photography. For over 2 decades, he has spent traveling deep into the wilderness, capturing some of the finest moments of wildlife. He's also curated his first ever wildlife exhibition, where he showcased best of his 60 photos from millions that he has shot. And perhaps there's a connection between the two worlds, the worlds of boardroom and the world of wilderness. Both requires passion, instinct, and the ability to take decisions when the outcome is uncertain. There's also one side of him where he puts his opinion in place and calls everything loud, clear as he sees it. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Hymakar Valluri. Welcome, sir, to our podcast, Risk and Reality. I'm extremely excited and happy to have you on this episode of Risk and Reality.
Thanks, Deepika, for having me here. It's a great honor, and I have seen your podcasts. I think they're really good. So I thought it makes a lot of sense to be here, and it's a good opportunity.
I'm so happy to have you, sir. And I think the format today is a little bit different from what we've had for the other episodes. Today we will showcase some of your best photos. I mean, all of them are really pretty good. I really had a hard time choosing the 6 that I did, but we will showcase that, and the link is also going to be there somewhere on the screen for you to also see Hymakar sir's profile. We'll go to the first photo, sir. This is basically the giraffe, right? And this is one of my favorite photos, really. The giraffe, which is standing above everything else. The moon is perfectly aligned. The timing has been perfect. So I really wanted to know, as a CFO, there could be certain situations in your day-to-day affairs where you need to look further ahead. You need to really look at things where you need to elevate your perspective. Have you ever done that? And if you can give us an example of experiences that you have in your life where you took decisions where it was important that you elevate your perspective and show results.
See, it's always important for finance leaders to look beyond what is seen. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not the short-term view for everything. You need to long-term view and have a broader perspective.
Right.
So talking about this picture is of a species called reticulated giraffe. It's an endangered species.
Okay.
Critically endangered species. It's found in East Africa, in Kenya, in a particular place called Samburu. So the moon you see, it's a evening of supermoon day.
Okay.
So I had waited for the evening. I was looking for this particular spot, looking for spots where I can find where a giraffe is walking towards the moon, and I can capture this.
Right.
So we followed the giraffe. We had few spots, and I got him at that particular location. So similarly, you need to already plan for your future outcomes. So when you are looking at certain operational decisions,
Right.
like investment in a new location, or entering into a new geographical segment. So it is it's an unknown territory. So it is where we have to look at a very broader view, saying that do the complete feasibility assessment and say, okay, how quickly we can get a payback, what is the market, or what is the TAM there, and how we are addressing, what is the competition presence, what kind of investments we need to do, what is the timeline. We need to have clear KPIs, and we need to, I usually look at these aspects before we commit into anything. So it's not like opening. When we enter a market, we say that, okay, we are opening one branch or one location here. We always look at how far we can go in this segment. in this geography, and how this landscape will transform over a period of time. Like if you are going into a place like Kokapet and all, the first mover advantage will always be there with us, because we were there as the first. So we always have the broader perspective. So that's what I look at, saying that okay, it's not the immediate thing, and we need to look at how the landscape will transform and plan for it in advance.
Right. That's a beautiful thought, like just thinking from all the angles before investing in a particular, say, area or a location. That really makes a lot of difference. And of course, landscape is one of the important factors as well. So our next image is that of an hummingbird. So this is again one of my favorites from your collection that you exhibited in the gallery. So the hummingbird really, it takes just enough nectar from so many flowers, not too much, not too little, right? In the similar way, how do you as a CFO know when to deploy or infuse more capital, infuse more funds into the business while it stays agile without really exhausting all the resources that the organization has?
So capital is always finite, it's never infinite resource, right? So you always need to do prioritizing. Any point in time, you always have multiple options, and there is a lot of demands from business saying that you need to invest in various projects. So it's always very critical for me to evaluate what is the risk and opportunity, and this opportunity which presents to us, how sustainable it is, and what are the long-term benefits, and whether there is a strategic alignment with that kind of investment or not. If there is a proper strategic alignment and risk opportunity balance is there and it is worth taking the risk, then we grade them, saying that which are the opportunities which we need to, based on the risk opportunity matrix, we look at, we rank them, and based on the ranking we allocate the capital accordingly.
Okay, understood. And how did you time this photo, sir? Like, how has it been so perfectly shot? What was your I'm sure there has been a lot of patience in clicking this image. What was your thought process when you did it?
These are hummingbirds. This image is clicked in Ecuador. So usually the hummingbirds flap at 50 to 80 times per second. So it's very difficult to freeze with any normal camera. So there is a limitation on the shutter speed. So it can go up to 8,000, 1 by 8,000 second. So if something shot at 1 by 8,000 second, the image becomes, there is not enough time for light to pass. So the only way to address this is putting a flash. So single flash will not give a proper exposure for the bird and the whole activity. So these always clicked with a multi-flash setup.
Okay.
So what happens in this bird, this flower where it was there, we had placed, we had gone as a group, so we worked together. We placed around 8 flashes, and we had a master-slave connection to the flashes. So one flash triggers, then sequentially the 8 flashes fire. This happens in a nanosecond, you can't make out. So because we are firing at 10 frames per second. So at that time, the camera which I had, it was shooting, firing at 10 frames per second. Today's cameras even shoot at 20 frames per second and beyond that. So when you fire, then it freezes, the flashes go on, and it freezes that moment. So everything is perfectly exposed.
Wow, that's beautifully explained. I mean, I don't understand the technicality behind this, but I'm understanding that there's so much that goes beyond clicking one perfect shot. We just see the image and say, okay, this is beautiful, but it's just the person who's shot it would know the journey behind it, really. So it's a beautiful shot, sir.
So when you look at business also, when you look at all this IT transformation and all those things, these are the things, this image is like the trial and error. So you don't get it like you look at other pictures which are shot from safaris. They are like the moment presents in front of you, you go shoot them. But these are things where you need to place the flashes in right places. They need to, the lighting changes every time, you keep adjusting that to get the right exposure. You keep working on it for hours together to get that right exposure. Then you go into actually execution. So there's a lot of homework happens for this. And these permutations, combinations, almost you try hundreds of combinations before you get your perfect exposure. So similarly, when in the business, before we take AI or anything, or RPA or any kind of new technology adoption which we do. So there are a lot of trial and errors. Till
Yeah.
we get the perfect mix recipe, we have to keep
We have
trying
to
that.
keep trying it. Yes, that is right. Do leaders confuse like growth with a healthy cash flow? Does that situation ever occur?
Yeah, there's always a conflict with healthy cash flow and growth, because the conservative CFOs will always try to protect the cash and be conservative on the growth, because they have this feeling saying that, okay, you commit a lot of money into this, what if it fails?
Yeah.
So there are aggressive CFOs who say that, okay, I can still generate funds from one way or other. I'll take a bet, I'll take that risk, I will invest in growth. So there are people who take a balanced approach.
Yeah.
So it's in your startup environment, it's always like you always focus on growth.
Growth,
So you
yes.
commit into that. If you don't commit into that, you cannot succeed.
Yeah.
Similarly, if you go into a stable businesses, grown businesses which are already matured, there the behavior changes. The behavior is more towards conserving cash rather than going for growth. Once you hit a particular market share.
Yeah. That makes sense, yes. So moving on to our next photo, which is again perfectly timed. This is the lion, the king of the jungle, and the elephant sharing the water, right? And there's one who was basically the king, and second who outweighs and outpowers everyone. So here I wanted to know, like, I know you've been in a lot of boardrooms, you've been to a lot of audit committees, but as a CFO, how do you ensure that influence sometimes matters more than authority? Do you think that governance is about dominance or democracy? What are your thoughts on that?
Governance is neither dominance or democracy. It's the necessity for running the business. It's like a country with a constitution. So without a constitution, the country cannot operate, right? Because there is no guardrails, there are no rules and regulations on how the nation should conduct itself.
Yeah.
Right? Similarly, for any company, that governance becomes the important tool to balance have a proper check and balance and operate. So it's neither dominance or democracy. So governance is not a choice.
Yeah. It has to be, I think, put in place just so that the organization is working towards the right direction and everybody is aware of what is the tone at the top. Really, that makes a lot of difference.
Balanced governance is very important, because what happens, it becomes very high level of bureaucracy leads to lot of delayed decisions in bureaucracy, which leads lot of frustration. And also people become very pessimistic while taking decisions. They will be very conscious to take decisions of governance and audit, fear of governance and audits.
Yes.
So there has to be a fine balance. People should be empowered enough with right guardrails, with a proper governance framework.
That sounds fair. So have you ever experienced, can you give us an example where really you explain the stakeholders or the board and the audit committee, where you influence them to take a certain decision which they were against to start with?
Yeah, there are a lot of decisions in my life which I have seen where we had say one is particular in one company where I was working, there was a strong feeling that we should only do the discounting in a particular manner. So during the season, if you do discounting, the brand will get diluted. So the economic conditions have changed, the macroeconomic conditions of the country have changed. So it was very important for us to clear the inventory, get rid of the inventory, get the cash in.
Yeah.
So my point of view was that you start doing the discounting through the season in a subtle manner and aggressively do discounting at the end of the period. So there was a debate about that, saying that, okay, which is the right approach. Finally, I had to do a lot of influencing, talking to people, saying that, okay, this is the right approach from ground up. Like, you have to have the operation managers agreeing for that. You have to have the brand head agreeing to that. You have to have the all stakeholders agreeing to that. Supply chain agreeing to that, because they'll have to do a lot of work moving the goods around.
Right.
And so we had to change the whole process. We were tuned to doing a particular business in a particular manner for a very long time. It was like a very difficult decision for management to take. So I had to convince them saying that we have to get the money out as quickly as possible. Our inventory turns have to be much sharper.
Yes.
So our sell-throughs have to be much higher. So these are the agenda which we have run. Finally, we did a lot of good work, because of which we did not have the inventory risk. Like, we have various lines of business. Certain lines of business have struggled with inventory because they have followed the standard template.
Right.
We deviated the template and we managed the inventory in very controllable levels in very tough situations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it becomes very difficult. It is a job of the finance head to come do out of the box thinking, come with some crazy ideas, and influence the rest of the team, convince them, and get it done.
Right.
And take that risk. Ultimately, some win, some you fail.
Yes, yes. I think that eventually comes to this stage where both the CFOs and the stakeholders build trust and share, everything with each other. I think that is also a good tone that you set later, as that they start trust and believing in the inputs that we provide as chartered accountants. That's amazing insight, and I think that example also made a lot of difference, and it added a lot of resonation to my thought process as well. So we'll move to our next image. This is again a perfectly timed one. This is a frog, which is basically, I know the tiniest, and I'm sure this must be the most toughest to click, because it's difficult to capture them in that moment. But inspired by this, I really wanted to ask, like, are there certain risks that we kind of tend to underestimate? Like, we think that there's a control in place and it is going to be taken care of, but are there certain risks that we don't foresee as the chief financial officer, sometimes thinking, okay, this is a small thing and we can just avoid it?
Yeah, see, the devil is always in details. So being a CFO, it's very important that you stay connected to what's happening in the business at the transaction level to the strategic level.
Yes.
When you're running a large organization, finance department, not always you get the time to get into the transactional level details. It's important that's why it's important for CFOs to have dashboards or reports which throw exceptions. That exception management is very critical. So today what you see, some symptoms are as not risk and very small, and they are ignorable. So you don't know. We have seen circumstances where we were doing some reviews. We came across a small issue saying that, okay, some payments were made to, based on the behest of the vendor, we made payment to some other vendor. So there's a request letter and all those things, document was there. Then we picked the pattern. We said, okay, let's go into the detail. So we got into the detail and we realized that there is some kind of anomaly in this pattern. So there are some, we had very interesting findings from that. Then we started working on fixing the process. Now at that time, we should have just ignored that small piece of transaction, because PO is there, invoice is there, three-way match is there, all required things are ticked.
Yes.
So what was missed is bypassing the MDM, right? So that also approved by a manager. So governance is also ticked.
Taken care of. Yeah.
So now those small details are very important, and sitting at the top, CFOs will not be able to get to that level of detailing. So it's very important to have very strong controllers and also very strong process managers who take responsibility of those towers, and they understand how to manage their particular pillars or department. What are the checks and balances, what are the SOPs, what are the processes, governance, and they need to educate their teams down the line. So that the leader as a CFO, that behavior, that training, that environment, the CFO has to create.
Correct.
CFO cannot sit and do the transactions. So you have to create that environment.
The culture. Bringing in the culture of focusing and noticing even the minute of the details, and maybe bringing it back to the heads of the finance, where they can take decision if something goes wrong. But how was this photo captured? What was your behind the scenes story of capturing this wonderful image of the...
So this is called glass frog. So glass frog, you can see the whole parts of the glass of the frog inside because of the translucent body.
Yes.
So this is found in Costa Rica. I was in Costa Rica. I was at in a place called La Fortuna. We had done some photography. Then the guide who came with me, he said he has a friend who is a researcher in amphibians, and he has a private reserve.
Okay.
So at 7:30 in the evening, we said, okay, we'll go there and spend the night, evening there. So we went there. It was raining. We thought frogs will come out. We'll have some action. Carried the camera gear and all. Sat there. Then they were also very excited. They are researchers. Wife and husband, both of them were researchers.
Okay.
And that person is known to be the person who has seen largest amount of amphibians in the whole of Costa Rica and that region. He started explaining to me about this frog, and this frog was moving around there. Then I said, this is a glass frog I want to shoot. Then he took me into the forest. It was raining, the reserve, and this one was moving on the branch. So I got the shot, and it was late in the night, maybe around 9:30, 10, and that place was swarmed with snakes and frogs.
Oh, that's a very different experience, I would say. And also, again, the passion that you had to go at, that time late in the hour and to capture this particular frog, again, shows a lot of interest that you have in wildlife photography as well. Do you have an experience, any of the craziest or the wildest of the experience that you would like to share from your photography journey, and something that really changed your thought process completely, just going through those instances and that time?
See, there are various experiences after 16 years journey. Initially, it was a very big struggle because when I started, low budget, small cameras and all, and wildlife is a very expensive, wildlife photography is an expensive hobby. Because the cameras are expensive, trips are expensive. So I used to do all this birding and all. So the moment I started doing tigers, big cats in Kabini and Bandipur forest. Like all my friends used to see the leopard or tiger in every safari, but for almost a year and a half, I didn't see a single cat. I was very frustrated. I was able to give up, saying that, okay, I am completely bad. Like, and friends stopped coming with me, saying that, okay, if you go with this fellow, we'll not see anything. So finally, after I said, okay, let me keep trying till the point. Some point in time, it has to come in front of me. So I kept persisted, and ultimately I saw the first tiger in Tadoba. After I saw its floodgates, I would have seen close to 150 individual tigers so far.
Wow.
So second is when I remember we get very excited in the field, saying that, okay, we need to go and take the picture, shoot, and all that adrenaline rush will be there. We were in Arctic, we were shooting polar bears, sorry. So there's a small hill. We docked there and we started saying that there are some birds and puffins there. We can go and look for puffins on the mountain.
Okay.
We full with excitement, we climbed the hill. So we reached there, we took everything for granted. Polar bears, the bears are the most dangerous species. By the time we reached on the top to the summit, there was one polar bear right sitting, watching us, waiting for us to come closer. So we were almost like 10 meters or something from polar bear. In that terrain, it can catch you in seconds. We all ran back very quickly and we got into the boat. Then we said, okay, we need to be cautious about our adventures. So just...
Yeah, sometimes the adrenaline takes you places, but we don't realize the risks that is involved in it, really, right? So I know you spoke about cats. So my next image is also of a tiger. So here the tiger is, I think, crossing the river or something, and we all know that tigers, they're very sharp. They know when to do. If they commit to certain thing, they ensure that they do it. So how do we as CFOs, or how do you as a CFO know when to take a calculated risk and when do we avoid certain risk? How do you take that decision and that call?
No, it has the impact assessment. What is the impact of taking that risk? Okay, you need to work all your scenarios. So you have to do your sensitivity analysis. Based on running your scenarios and sensitivity analysis, unbiased, evaluating every assumption without any kind of prejudice. Okay, usually the bias kicks in, saying that you are all human beings. End of the day, you have a intuition towards saying that, okay, this will work.
Correct.
But you will have to always check your intuition saying that, okay, let me test this assumption.
Yeah.
So you test your assumptions. I have a process of testing my assumptions, creating the sensitivity analysis, doing
Yes.
some scenarios. Then I get to a point saying that, okay, this is worth taking a risk. Then commit into it. Once you step in, there's no looking back.
Yeah.
So we are committed, go and get it done. That's it.
So it's impact analysis and sensitivity analysis before you take any call and decision.
Yeah.
Of course, follow your instincts, but have some background work done behind it as well.
But in this, most important thing is that you shouldn't lose time for the process of governance. The time is of essence.
Yes.
So you cannot miss the opportunity. So some things, these things, it should become a matter of practice, day in, day out, where you can churn them very fast.
Right.
Okay, decisions cannot be delayed in business. Even a day sometimes make a huge difference.
Yes.
Like I worked in telecom. In telecom, if a product is launched by a competitor, if you don't respond on the same day and competitor already communicated to the market on that day about the product, and you take around 5 days to communicate, you lost the customer migration happens, millions of customer migration happens in those days.
Correct.
In those 5-6 days.
Yeah.
Today you launched, you should be able to launch, but you cannot lose sight of governance. So you will have the SOPs, you will run your scenarios, you understand what are the risks of doing it, and what is the best way to address it.
Okay.
And quickly go and deliver the product, put in the market.
Yeah.
So time is of essence. So CFOs not only have to put their guardrails, scenarios, sensitivity analysis, and all this textbook work, which they need to do, that is must and should, but need to figure out how quickly they can do.
Respond to it.
So that's why tools become very important.
Yes.
That's why technology adoption is very important.
Right.
You need to templatize, you need to make it idiot proof, and you should think about what kind of scenarios will come. You have to test your models, keep the models ready. And when scenario comes, just plug the data, get the result, take the call.
Awesome. Do you think now we have a lot of budding CFOs as well, right? Like we have the concept of virtual CFO. We have a lot of youngsters also becoming CFOs at a very early age in their life. Do you think what is the feedback, or what is that one learning or lesson that you would want to impart to those young, say, chartered accountants who aim to be CFOs and the ones who are running to be one at this time?
See, fortunately, I also hit the head of finance kind of a position at very young age.
Yes.
So, one thing is that the enthusiasm, always the hunger. Stay hungry, stay foolish,
Right.
Don't shy away from taking risk. Don't worry too much about don't get bogged down by consequences too much, Always find a right mentor, I was very fortunate. Every place I worked, though I worked in so many places, I had very good bosses and very good mentors. And they gave a lot of freedom to me to play around and do all kind of stuff. Even when I was wrong, they covered my back and they said, okay, no problem, go and try this. So that way, I was very fortunate throughout my career. To large part of my career, I was very fortunate from that perspective. So one, understand the environment, take risks, and be very empathetic. Understand the business, understand the core of the business, understand your stakeholders, and always remember that you are there to solve a problem, not to create a problem.
Yes.
You have an authority, you are sitting in a CFO position, all POs come to you, all contracts come to you, all transactions come to you. You are the boss, you can call the shots.
Yes.
But Spider-Man, great power comes with great responsibility. So stay grounded, stay connected, be very empathetic.
So there's a lot of noise in terms of Gen Zs now, right, due to the recent events. But in your thought process, what do you think? Will Gen Zs be good as chief financial officers in the future? What are your thoughts on that?
You see, every generation has its own pattern and behavior, right? Yes. I had a particular generation where we have seen a lot of revolutions and lot of changes. Like we have seen the times of all communal violence and mandal commissions and all that kind of activity we have seen. We have gone through that phase. I was probably end of school or something like that. After that, some other revolution came. Every time somebody is in that age, passing through that revolutions and changes and all those things. When we were there, we were using Pentium 386 systems. Then we graduated from Pentium 386, 586. Now we have come to the kind of systems which run at 64 gig RAMs and with all kind of SAP HANA kind of tools, processes. So every stage this evolution keeps happening every couple of years. Okay. Ultimately, Gen Zs will also find their balance. Okay, Gen Z, they are normal people. Now they are overwhelmed with that kind of resources, information, tools they have.
Right.
So now everything is Maggie noodle kind of approach. Everything need to be quick. Zomato, Blinkit kind of everything need to be fast. People don't have span of attention.
Yes.
So the things have to be delivered fast, reactions have to be fast, response has to be fast, everything has to be fast. So everyone will adapt to that, and ultimately the balance will come down, come back into the system. So once they cross that stage, when they face 2-3 issues, they hit roadblocks, then they overcome those problems, then through that experiences they will again find a balance. So that is water will find its level eventually.
Right. Okay, sounds good. So for our next image we have the bear. I know you spoke of the bear as well, but this bear is like, I can say this is an image of resilience. It's not really fighting the rain, but it's enduring, it's enjoying being in the rain. And for that, as a CFO, during the period of uncertainties, how do you know what needs to be changed, what should be adopted, what should be ignored? How do you get that balance in the system in an event of an uncertainty?
See, in the event of uncertainty, one thing which need to be very clearly documented, saying that, okay, what are your controllables, what are not your controllables.
Right.
So, things beyond government policy, to certain things you can influence. What's happening in Strait of Hormuz, you cannot influence.
Yes.
So, what's happening on the things related to climate change or anything, certain things you can influence, certain things you cannot influence.
Yes.
So, the processes within the system, within your entity, and how you respond, and your vendors, your nearest first level 1 stakeholders, your employees, your vendors, your customers are within your environment.
Yeah.
So we need to see what is controllable in our hands to address the uncertainty.
Yes.
And prioritize that. Instead of getting overwhelmed or worried about things beyond our control in situation of uncertainty, only focus on what are things on uncertainty, what are things in your control, and take a balanced approach. Take an approach where you don't get caught up in that uncertainty. You navigate through that uncertainty without being unscathed.
Yes.
So that is very important. How you survive through that phase and get out of it.
Right.
Without losing cash, without losing revenue, without losing market share.
Yeah.
Sometimes these uncertainties also become opportunities to scale your market share. Like everyone is not good at dealing with uncertainties, right? Some people will crumble, some entities will crumble, fall down, disappear after.
Yeah.
So the entities which have very stronger mindset, stronger processes, their core is very strong, they will figure out a way. They will survive that storm, and then they capture, during that time, they capture the market share, sustain it, and after that they propel from there.
Correct.
So that is the approach one need to take in uncertainty.
Again, the story of a resilience. Just don't try and fight it. Just navigate your way out of it, and maybe learn from it and see where is the opportunity to make this, and you use it within your stride. So that's, and how did you time this image? Like again, perfectly timed, when I'm sure this is not easy to capture. So how did you do this?
This is clicked in Russia. It's in a place called Kuril Lake. So Russia, to reach that spot is also not easy. So you need to take a flight from Moscow to Petropavlovsk. It's a longest domestic flight, 11-hour domestic flight. You reach there. From there, you take a 1 to 2 hour helicopter ride. We had gone for 2 hours because it was a terrible weather. So 2 hour helicopter ride, you get there, they drop you in that island. So in this island, These bears, after the winters in July, August, there is a 3-month window. They come down. They hibernate during winters. They come down. So the salmon swim back from sea to lakes during this season.
Okay.
So they come down to catch the salmon.
Right.
So salmon, once they enter the lake, they are finished. They cannot catch them.
Yes.
So there is a shallow point before the lake.
Okay.
They come and wait in that shallow point. So they catch the salmon there. So they dive into that shallow point, try to catch. Sometimes they get. Sometimes this fellow did not get. So he came out and he was shaking his head and getting rid of the water in the main. So I captured that at that time. I was on the land island. Outside. Maybe I was like 20 meters from this guy, 20-30 meters somewhere.
Okay, awesome, amazing. I think this is again one of my favorites in the whole stack that I found on Instagram. So this gets to the closing question that we have. If you can give me an example of what you've learned from finance that helped you in the wildlife photography expeditions and your journey, and vice versa, if you can give us examples of what your learnings have been from both these professional journeys.
See, there are a lot of learnings which happens from both sides. In both the places, what I learned is that you have to take your chances, right?
Yes.
You should be willing to commit and invest.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are a lot of ideas which I had where in various companies which I have told, saying that okay, went to the board, we have to try this, we have to try that. Then they gave me the ample opportunity. Sometimes they shot down the ideas, found very crazy. They said no, this is outrageous, don't do it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they allowed. So most of the time they allowed. So I tried all those things and they were very successful. So it's very important in both the fields to think out of the box and do it different and keep experimenting. Then only you will get the result. Even in finance, if I take, when we initially went and explored Power BI in 2017, most of the people thought it was some foolish thing. And once we developed the dashboards, and they were awestruck, saying that how did you manage to do this? So I persisted, saying that okay, we need to. These dashboards looks great. We will get this done.
Yes.
Initially, people who said no, then within 6 months, 9 months, they were all building their own dashboards.
Right.
So similarly, things like RPA, people will say, "What is this?" These kind of things people don't understand and appreciate. So, but you need to persist, try, keep some. Eventually, they will. Accept.
Land in the same place. Yes.
Agree. Similarly, in wildlife, day one you go, you will not get success.
Yes.
Okay. We go for something, we'll encounter something else.
Yeah.
We imagine something before going into the field. We'll be encountered with something. Then you need to quickly shift gears and make the best out of it.
Yes.
So and keep persisting. That's all. Till you get the end result.
Yeah.
So you don't lose till the time you decide in your mind that you lost it.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's how in wildlife, that is the approach.
Right. I mean, sometimes we go, and if we don't capture the one that is like in front of us, we lose that opportunity also, just thinking, okay, I didn't get the one that I came for. Maybe I didn't spot the tiger. So we lose, our morale comes down, or we kind of don't make the most of the opportunity or the moment that we are in. Very nicely said, Mr. Hymakar. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really moved by everything that you mentioned, because I've seen a lot of individuals in finance really starting their career, having hobbies initially when they say are doing articleship or are also consultants. When they have a lot of time in hand, they have a lot of hobbies that they follow. But eventually, once they grow in their career and they're sitting in the best or the leadership positions, they kind of leave a life back, leave that morale, that habit behind. But with you, it has been different, and I'm very happy to have you on this episode of Risk and Reality. Thank you so much for doing this with us, Mr. Hymakar. I think this will be one of my favorite episodes, definitely.
Thank you, Deepika.
Thank you so much, viewers. Thank you for tuning in on this episode of Risk and Reality. Like I always say, and like Mr. Hymakar himself has explained us and resonated with whatever I mention all the time, don't forget to follow your passion. Thank you.